Single dad rescues his intoxicated boss. The following morning, she acknowledged everything. I never expected to carry my boss, the woman who could make or break my career, out of a bar at 2 a.m. while she mumbled about how lonely she was. But that night changed everything, between us in ways neither of us could have imagined, and what she confessed the next morning. That's when I realized some mistakes lead to the most beautiful beginnings. David Harris stared at his phone, his thumb hovering over the send button. The text to his babysitter read, "Emergency at work. Need 2 more hours, triple pay." He glanced at his watch. 11:30 p.m. and sighed. If he didn't find his boss soon, he might not have a job to return to tomorrow. The unexpected call. 3 hours earlier, David had been helping his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, with her science project when his phone rang. The company's holiday party was in full swing downtown Chicago, but as a single dad with limited childcare options, he'd skipped it. The caller ID showed Amanda Collins, his notoriously demanding boss. "Harris," he answered professionally. "David." Amanda's voice was slurred. I need help." Something in her tone, vulnerability he'd never heard before, made his chest tighten. "Where are you?" he asked, already reaching for his keys. "The Blue Owl, downtown. I can't drive and my phone's dying." And the line went dead. David knew of only one bar downtown with blue in the name, the Blue Owl Lounge, a popular spot where executives often entertained clients. It wasn't like Amanda to drink heavily. As the youngest female VP in the company's history, she maintained impeccable control over everything, including her image. After arranging for his regular sitter to stay late, David kissed Lily's forehead and promised to be back soon. "Daddy's friend needs help," he explained. "Is your friend sick?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with concern. "Something like that, sweetheart." Little did David know that finding Amanda would be just the beginning of his problems, and that by morning the carefully constructed walls between boss and employee would come crashing down in ways neither could repair. The Blue Owl was packed with holiday revelers. When David arrived, he spotted Amanda immediately. Her normally perfect posture slumped at the bar, her designer blazer hanging off one shoulder. A man in an expensive suit was leaning too close, his hand on her back. "I said no," Amanda was saying, attempting to sound authoritative despite her condition. "Come on, sweetheart. I'll get you home safe," the man insisted, his smile not reaching his eyes. David moved quickly. "There you are," he said loudly, positioning himself between Amanda and the stranger. Amanda blinked up at him, confusion giving way to relief. "David, you came?" "Of course I did," he turned to the man. "Thanks for keeping my boss company, but I'll take it from here." The man sized David up, noting his determined stance and the protective hand he'd placed on Amanda's shoulder before backing away with a shrug. "Whatever, man. She's not worth the trouble anyway." Once he was gone, Amanda's professional facade crumbled completely. "The board meeting tomorrow. The Westfield presentation," she mumbled, trying to stand and nearly toppling over. David caught her. "Let's worry about that tomorrow. Right now, we need to get you home." "Can't go home," she said, suddenly looking panicked. "My ex, he's moving out. Final move. Can't let him see me like this." David hesitated. His babysitter couldn't stay all night, and he couldn't leave Amanda alone in this state. The decision he made next would either be the biggest mistake of his professional life or something else entirely. "I have a couch," he said finally, "and coffee for the morning." Getting Amanda into his modest 2-bedroom apartment in Lincoln Park was an adventure. She'd gone from emotional to philosophical during the cab ride, rambling about corporate glass ceilings and how being perfect isn't enough anymore. As David fumbled with his keys, Amanda leaned against the wall. "Why are you so nice to me?" she asked suddenly. "I'm horrible to you?" Before David could answer, the door opened and his babysitter appeared, looking relieved. "She's been asleep for an hour," the college student whispered, eyeing Amanda with curiosity. After paying the sitter and seeing her out, David turned to find Amanda had wandered into the living room, staring at the family photos on his wall. "She looks like you," Amanda said softly, pointing to a picture of Lily. "Same eyes." "That's what everyone says," David replied, setting up the couch with sheets and a pillow. "You should get some sleep. Bathroom's down the hall if you need it." Amanda turned to him, swaying slightly. "You know why I'm so hard on you at work?" David froze. This was dangerous territory. "You should really get some rest. Because you're the most talented person in the department." she continued, her professional mask completely gone. And I'm terrified the executives will notice and promote you instead of me. She laughed bitterly. Isn't that pathetic? The great Amanda Collins threatened by her own employee. David didn't know what to say. This vulnerability from his always composed boss was disorienting. The Westfield presentation, she said suddenly, her eyes widening. I don't have. I finished the slides yesterday, David said quietly. They're in your email. I was going to tell you tomorrow. Amanda stared at him, her expression unreadable. Why would you do that for me after how I've treated you? The question hung in the air between them, loaded with implications neither was ready to face. Before David could answer, Amanda stumbled slightly, and he moved quickly to steady her. Their faces were inches apart. For one breathless moment, David thought she might lean in closer. Instead, she whispered, I think I need to lie down now. As he helped her to the couch, David wondered what morning would bring and whether either of them would remember this conversation. David woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of quiet voices. For a moment he was disoriented. Then the events of the previous night came rushing back. He bolted upright in bed, checking the time. 6:30 a.m. Following the voices, he found an unexpected scene in his kitchen. Amanda, looking surprisingly put together despite wearing yesterday's clothes, was sitting at his small table with Lily. His daughter was animatedly explaining her science project, while Amanda listened intently. The volcano needs baking soda and vinegar, Lily was saying seriously. Daddy says the chemical reaction makes the explosion. That's exactly right, Amanda replied. I did the same project when I was your age. David cleared his throat and both females looked up. Daddy, Miss Amanda made coffee and helped me with my volcano, Lily exclaimed. Amanda met his eyes, a mixture of embarrassment and gratitude in her expression. Lily's been telling me about her science fair. She's quite the little scientist. She gets that from her mom, David said automatically, then winced. He rarely mentioned Lily's mother, who had decided parenthood wasn't for her and left when Lily was 2. An awkward silence fell until Lily announced she needed to get dressed for school. Once she was gone, Amanda stood smoothing her wrinkled blouse. David, about last night. You don't need to explain, he interrupted. It happens to everyone. Please let me finish, she said, her professional tone returning. I remember everything. What I said about being threatened by you, it was unprofessional and inappropriate. David braced himself for what comes next. Probably a request to forget everything, followed by even colder treatment at work. Instead, Amanda took a deep breath. It was also completely true. She moved to the window, looking out at the morning sun. I've spent my entire career fighting to be taken seriously. Never showing weakness, never admitting mistakes, never letting anyone close enough to see the real me. She turned back to him. And then you come along, talented, humble, raising a brilliant daughter on your own, making it all look so effortless. Trust me, none of this is effortless, David said with a small laugh. I know that now, she replied softly, and I owe you an apology, not just for last night, but for the past year of making your work life difficult. Because of my own insecurities. David was stunned. What happens now? Amanda smiled, a real smile that transformed her face. First, we nail the Westfield presentation. Then I'm recommending you for senior manager position. That's opening next month. But you've been working toward that position, David protested. I'm aiming for the director role, she said with newfound confidence. And I'll need a senior manager I can trust. She hesitated. Someone who sees me at my worst and still shows up. The air between them changed, charged with possibilities neither had allowed themselves to consider before. Ms. Amanda, can you help me with my hair? Lily called from the bathroom. Amanda's eyes never left David's. May I? He nodded, unable to speak past the emotion in his throat. As she turned to help Lily, David realized that sometimes the most unexpected nights lead to the most beautiful mornings, and that second chances come in forms we never anticipate. 6 months later, Amanda sat in David's living room, helping Lily with homework while David prepared dinner. The Westfield account had been a massive success. David had been promoted, and Amanda had indeed become the youngest director in company history. But the biggest change wasn't professional. It was in the quiet moments like this, a makeshift family finding their way together one day at a time. You know, Amanda said as David joined them, I never thought my biggest mistake would lead to my greatest happiness. David smiled, taking her hand. Sometimes we need to fall apart to find out who's willing to help put us back together. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that remind us second chances are always possible. We'd love to know which city you're watching from. Drop it in the comments below.